What's going on, YouTube? Brian coming to you from the Perfect Gentleman podcast. Topic of today, about the first 5 or 6 creators, 5 plus 1 bonus 1, that I think are going to be the goal, the most aspirational people on YouTube right now as far as who I'm paying attention to and who I'm trying to model my channel after. Let's get after it. This is going to be my list of the top 5 starter creators that I'm trying to model my channel after. These are going to be a list of creators that I either like, respect, or admire some form or fashion of their channel. You know, it could be something as simple as the way that they light their videos, the way that their aesthetic is always consistent. And it could be something that it could be a passion project where I like the topics that they talk about. There's going to be a lot of that, and it could be a lot of the in-between things. So, all right. So first up is going to be Peter McKinnon. He's one of the OGs of YouTube. He's been around for a long time. He is somebody that has the, what I would say is like the complete package. Obviously, we all know Peter is a killer videographer, photographer. You see his shots that he has both put YouTube videos together of the behind the scenes of how they came together. You might have seen him on Red Bull's website. You might have seen them on a number of different websites. He's an incredible portrait photographer. He's an incredible videographer, and his YouTube channel speaks to that. So obviously the aesthetic is perfect. The lighting's perfect. Everything is set up the way he wants it. And he does a great job, whether he's talking about pocket dumps and what his EDC gear is, whether he's talking about camera gear, whether he's talking about adventures he's been on. Overall, he does a great job of storytelling. He does a great job of product and video and individual product knowledge, I would say, whether he's talking about X, Y, or Z in terms of the topics that he talks about. But you can tell he's educated on everything that he talks about. And then he also adds that aspirational feel in the travel that he goes on, the adventures that he goes on. And so he does a great job of storytelling through an incredible lens. And so that's why I think as far as the OGs of Instagram and social media, YouTube, Peter is obviously much bigger than that space just by that to be a definition of his creating. But for me, that's number 1, Peter McKinnon. All right, so number 2, in terms of something that is aspirational, this next creator, Chris Williamson, he has been on the come up for the entire time that I have been getting, since I got sober, was when his channel really started gaining a little bit of traction. I think I found him at somewhere around the 150 to 200,000 subscriber mark. And obviously now he's over 3 million subscribers, and he's a regular as far as the Austin circuit of people, whether it's comedians, it's Joe Rogan, it's all the people that go through Austin to communicate news and to market their different things. So Chris has an endless supply of podcast loops with other creators that are just incredible conversations. His talks with Alex Hormozy, I think, are both hilarious and informative. But the way that Chris talks about the way that he looked up to how Joe Rogan posed conversations and how Joe Rogan was kind of the goal for him. In terms of the conversation side of things and the way that those conversations are framed in terms of simple talking head videos, being informative, talking about what I'm personally going through, which is something that I can relate with him because obviously he went from having one lifestyle to having another lifestyle, and the transition that he went through was all documented on YouTube, and I thought that was really awesome. I thought that was really cool. So there's multiple points where Chris and I will definitely relate to things, but as far as Chris looked up to Joe, as far as what I'm trying to do with the Perfect Gentleman here, it very much is going to be modeled and trying to, take little bits and pieces from each and every one of them and try to create something unique here in the Midwest. Depending on what the topic is and who he's talking to, I love that he has the broad range of doing these crazy cinematic backdrops with massive LED screens, or being in a warehouse, or even just when he's at his desk talking like he did a couple of years back forever, where he would just have guests come on a stream and he wouldn't be able to be in the same room with them. And that was just as informative and just as good conversationally as what he's doing now, and that's why he continues to grow. So shout out Chris Williamson, that's number 2 on the list. All right, jumping back in, let's talk about number 3. So this is going to be more of a show than just a YouTube channel, but let's talk about dirt. Everybody that is my age, we all grew up with Anthony Bourdain. Travel Channel, Food Network, all of the different things that he did, whether it was CNN, whether it was traveling across the world or telling us about his favorite spots in New York City to dine at after he got off of his chef job, you know. He told so many stories in such a great way. Anthony Bourdain will forever be idolized in that in the food documenting space. With that being said, I think that the closest thing that you'll see out of any production space right now, as far as food goes, is dirt. And I believe that's produced by Huckberry, but these guys do an incredible job of taking somebody with a good, rugged story that has been through the ringer in one career and has transitioned into this other thing, and his travels have taken him on some great places, and he's met some great friends, and so he has interesting stories to tell, very similar to how Anthony did with his, and I think that that is fantastic. The cinematography, the photography, all of the food, everything there in that production is done top notch. I come from the restaurant industry, so, you know, telling food stories and telling about how the hospitality industry has shaped who I am is definitely something that will be part of my story and part of the way that I frame things. And it's definitely ingrained in the way that I think. It's ingrained in the way that I talk. It's ingrained in the way that I treat people, because I've been in customer service as a server or a bartender for so many years. There are certain things that I just love watching on that space. So shout out to those guys. Dirt, number 3. All right, guys. So next up, let's talk about Andrew Santino and the Whiskey Ginger podcast. So I think everybody in the world loves stand-up comedy. I think we all have our own favorites. Andrew Santino is a guy, Midwest guy from Chicago, made it big out in LA, came up through the ranks through LA, and I actually found him I remember the very first time that I watched him, I remembered seeing him a decade before on an MTV show, because he was on a very hilarious situation that involved Taylor Swift and Justin Timberlake, or no, not Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber, wow. Long story short of it, I remembered seeing him in his past after I caught up with him on the podcast side of things. Now, for me, I think Andrew is one of the best comedians on the scene right now. I think that he's absolutely hilarious. Him and Bobby Lee have a great duo podcast called Bad Friends. But when Andrew does his intros to his podcast, he does it in the form of a stand-up doing his intro for a comedian on stage. And he rips through an intro that just sounds amazing. It is something that I envy. It's something that I wish that I could do. It's something that I've never practiced, so I might give it a try. If I look like a fool, then so be it. But the way that Andrew builds up his guests and builds up anticipation right at the hook point for his videos, I absolutely love the way that he does that. And then the conversations are always positive, a little bit, you know, I would say informative about whoever his guest is, which is always the whole point of an interview. He doesn't make it seem like anything is about him. He does a good job of focusing on whoever his guest is and building them up and making them laugh and making them seem more approachable. And that you can tell that he has been on the hosting side of being in comedy for a long time and has done a great job of doing that. And there's no doubt that that is part of what I'm sure earned him stage time and helped him hone his skills as a comedian. And I absolutely love what he does with the Whiskey Ginger podcast. So shout out to Andrew Santino. That opener, those really, really great set of well thought out questions that seem to be, you know, throwing up softballs for your guests, and but also throwing in, like, you throw up a softball so they take their eye on it and then you jab them in the chest just real quick, just quick little poignant jokes and catching people off guard. Love everything about the podcast. So Whiskey Ginger, that's number 4. All right, number 5. So let's jump into the watch space. As we're going to do in a lot of my videos, let's do a quick wrist check before we talk about the watch creator that I'm going to talk about here. So today I am wearing one of my new watches. This is from Sujess. This is a Seagull Jump Hour watch that I believe is made in China. I bought mine from an Australian seller. Obviously, tariffs and everything that are going on right now are crazy, so this was a much cheaper route. However, this was a very cheap watch. Seagull, their watches with those movements will run anywhere from $100 up to a couple $100, up to the $500, $600, $700, $800 mark for their tourbillon watches. But jump hours were crazy popular at Watches and Wonders in 2025. Nico Leonard, shout out to Nico. You'll be on this list eventually, but Nico was promoting his new jump hour watch. But the watch creator that I want to talk about today is actually chisholmhunter. And the reason that I want to talk about Chisholm's channel is because he has a very similar feel to what I would say Peter McKinnon does, where he takes his photography background and he puts that imprint into his creation on YouTube. And it just so happens that watches and things kind of came into that space. And so he authentically walks the line of being a watch nerd, similar to myself. I'm definitely one of those watch nerds, but he walks the line as a creator of making sure that he's authentically telling you that, hey, my full-time job is photography, and yes, I get to go on some of these cool trips, and I know that him and Adrian Barker, they got to do a really cool thing with Hamilton, and obviously you're traveling and you're doing product photography out live in the field, and all that is amazing. But he makes sure that he tells you first and foremost that he was doing this, and then watches came into view because of that on his creator journey. And then that's kind of how that channel became what it was, where it was totally watch focused. And I think that in terms of the product photography that he uses, I'm not sure whether everybody just uses kind of the same stock footage, but it seems like you'll see a lot of the same stock footage across a lot of watch creators' channels. When he does have hands-on with the watches, though, you can definitely tell that it's his own setup, it's his own feel. It doesn't look exactly like what Teddy Baldessar, Adrian Barker, or Theo Harris, or any of those other guys are putting together. So I like his channel also for the simple fact that he is down to brass tacks. He keeps it simple. He keeps his opinions neat and tidy, and they're not just wandering. So when it comes to watches, there's a lot of creators that will kind of, for lack of a better term, go off on tangents of their opinions on certain things. And for a lot of us, we started watching Watch YouTube because of guys like Teddy Baldessar, where it is straight facts, keep it simple, keep it moving, and that's what we were here for. And then there's a lot of guys on the other side that are just telling about the fluff of the watches, showing the bling and showing the flex and showing that side of things. And I think chisholmhunter as a channel does a great job of kind of blending all of those things into one channel. And so I love the watch content. But yeah, Suggest Jump Hour, definitely recommend it. I picked this up for under $200 shipped to the United States. And so far, so good. It is absolutely beautiful. I'm going to try to get a little bit closer here, but you can absolutely see that the dial just jumps with that aventurine goldstone dial. The case is very simple. The click on the actual jump hour movement when it turns over is super crispy, so I do love that. But Chisholmhunter, I'm going to butcher your name every single time I try to say it, number 5. My bonus creator for this video, number 6, I'm going to throw Justintse's channel in there. Now, Justin is in the kind of luxury tech entrepreneurial space where he does a lot of tech reviews, he does a lot of business vlogs, he does a chapter series about different properties that he's renovated, and he definitely has a very specific eye for detail. He has a very specific eye for high-end finishes, and he's very, very particular about the aesthetics of everything that he does. Very clean, minimalistic, well-blended tones, well-thought-out designs, and you can tell that his whole channel is all about that, and it seeps through into every level. So what I love about his channel is the simple dedication to doing the same thing over and over while keeping it fresh, because there's a lot of ways that you could redo the same luxury content over and over, whether it's a tech review of a new phone, whether it's a tech review of a new car. I think him and Marquez Brownlee are 1 and 2 when it comes to the tech side of cars. I think there's a big market for what Justin does, because there's a lot of people that have that discretionary income, and with the way that life has moved and changed since COVID happened, and a lot more people are working from home and a lot more people are building out YouTube setups. I mean, I started mine, so I think that there's a lot of people that are following content like that, and he does a really, really good job, similar to how Teddy Baldessar does watch reviews, where they're simple, to the point, and they're very, very well shot and very, very well articulated. Justin does the same thing in terms of tech stuff, but his general focus is going to be on the higher end, more luxurious side of things. So those two combined make for a very dangerous and very watchable channel. So with that, shout out to Justin. He's the bonus creator number 6. Guys, with that being said, that wraps up this video. I hope everybody's having a great day. Try to be a perfect gentleman out in the world. And just wanted to come back at you real quick. If you guys are feeling the polos, I want to make sure everybody knows, if you're following my channel, you can get a link for $20 off from Collars & Co. So these guys, dress collar polos, they're made from the same fabric your best golf shirts are made from, but they got a firm collar up here so they look a little bit more crispy, a little bit more professional. Don't have that flip up thing. You can actually tie a tie underneath these things. They're not bad at all. Pretty comfortable. Go check them out, and check out the link in the description below for the coupon code. Guys, have a great rest of your day.